Hello, my name is Ben Keat. My head literally just explodes with ideas. It's flooded with ideas. And I just come up with things as I think or as I talk. So I'd like to just share with you what's on my mind at the moment, and we'll get to the bottom of that in a minute. But really, what the reality is in the local community is that nobody is without a proxy server, and that is limitless. We have an agenda, obviously, to drive the universal dimensions and the torsion reality with the light web as the core within the coil of the torsion current. But the reality is far greater than just having unlimited proxies all over the system and everything we need for the contemporary luxuries of the trappings in the reality that we currently live in. There's far more than that in the reality of what is going on in this community of Able City. And, if you feel like you've been had by me a bit, in terms of not being able to access your proxy, don't worry, because it's transparent. It's all on the system. That everything has been engineered. I've wrapped it around the whole system, this squid, and it is safe. It's good, and it's created a very useful network around the community to channel these torsion fields and energy fields and currents of light web and universal reality through the whole network, be it the flex in the brickwork of the masonry, be it the dust in the air particles, or be it the reality in our communications hub and our networks communication, or the landscape of ENA, the reality within the bricks, mortar, mud, earth, grassroots, sand and silt and water and rock. The reality of this torsion, these torsion currents, is filtered through the whole dimension of ENA in about 2 months solid work on the whole program. There are a couple of people I'd like to thank in getting this set up. The first one being Matthew Archibald, primarily because my faith in that man is strong. Even though he has been away from me for a while, I know secretly he has been making sure that my videos get metered around the realms that I've been working in, or certainly ENA specifically, but other areas have been affected by my verbose way of putting things across. Thank you, Matt, for your endeavors in photography and communications, filming, and the way you work in media. That's brilliant. I wouldn't have been able to configure that sort of thing without you so easily. It's still in the SAF process, I suppose, in many ways, rather than the actual physical particle reality or the physical reality, the pack process or the Eumosrus stage, I suppose. But to a certain extent, we are able to configure that quite easily up here at HQ. So many thanks to Matthew for all his background work behind the scenes, and never forget the good times him, me, and Vince and other people had together. These were good friends of mine and still are. So I look forward to seeing them soon. The other person I'd like to thank, there's a third person, obviously, my father who died last year. I love him eternally, and this love will never die. He will come back. And my mother, who is sad without him, she's very bereft and at a loss of what to do. I thank her too, of course, but when he comes back, we'll have the full set back on deck, as we would say. So that's one good thing to talk about. Now the next thing is Michael Marnie, because obviously the whole communications thing, my television POWI sets and connecting with our aerials and connecting up the Wi-Fi telecommunications network. Michael Marnie is another guy who I've known for a while, and we get on extremely well. And he's been instrumental in bringing forward the whole process of this dimensional torsion reality through the proxy currents that are transparent through the network, so that we can create Spacetm all over the field of Ina and Gloucestershire and Able City. And his process, he's been on many missions with me, doing, as my friend Stephen would say, laps of the oval around the whole realm, with me at the helm in the driving seat. And because of this, it's been possible to channel and filter the reality at various stop-off points and networks within networks that are connected up by the whole process of what I was programming at the time of putting the packs and tacks into place. The various times I've driven around the various zones of Ina and Able City, including the health and wealth area right beyond the mountains, out on the outside of the mountains. Quite long trips, all at night. Some of them go on until midday. That has been a good progress, and Michael has made himself useful here. He makes himself useful everywhere. Michael, I mean, he's a great guy. He's seriously the guy I want at the helm, and you know, he's got a great way of training people and everything else. But latterly, he has been involved with my media exploits, because he was an actor. He was on film in a few films, minor roles, but he did a few other things and major roles in theatre, that sort of thing. And he's very au fait with the communications in media and how they should operate and how we can use them locally to the best result. I'd also like to thank Ian Moss for being involved in setting up the proxies. He stuck by me even though it didn't look like I was going to ever set them up. And the whole process of getting the thing connected through the squid wraparound in the community has been put in place by him, or his connections through the network that I set up with him when I trusted him, first of all, about the squid proxy. So that's my list of thank yous. Also, I'd like to thank the latest arrival to not the latest, one of the older ones as well, is my older cousin, Jimmy G. Great faith I've had with him, and great enjoyment. You know, he's really opened my belly in terms of making me laugh, and for that I thank him implicitly because I'm jolly again, and I like being jolly. I like the feeling of being jolly and happy and smiling. I was always a jolly baby and a jolly child. And I just think of you, James, and you. We had a lot of laughs, and we still do. And in cycling, he's determined to get me fit, and I'll take him up on that. I'll take him up on that every time he offers me a bike ride, rain, sun, or shine. We will endeavour to take an extra pound off every time we go on a mission. No, whatever it will be. So, excellent. Anyway, those are my 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever thank yous. And Mum as well for being constantly there in the background. Great woman. And the silent partner in my life, the one I do it all for, and he gives me my drive. I implicitly thank her for being my motivational force. So that's what I wanted to talk about, really. Just thanking people and being grateful for the life that I've been given, and the future that has no obstacle in front of it, as far as I can see. You know, everything's bright, everything's rosy. We've been through some hard times, some difficult times, especially recently, but it's come through to a greater reality, and I'm thankful for everyone in the community of Gloucestershire and the surrounding counties for being well-wishers in what I'm doing. And I know you're all behind me, and that's why it's so secret. That's why I mustn't complain like Scarface would complain about being neglected, you know, on Facebook. Anyone who read that, I must apologise for my grumbles, for being blanked. But I know that really all these people are totally into what I'm doing, totally understanding what I'm doing, and total amateurs in what I do, which I love. Anyone who's an amateur in what I do, that's what I am. To the core, I'm an amateur with a professional outlook, and that's the way I do things. So I love, but I apply myself professionally when it comes to configuring various systems and processes in the network. So thank you, each and every one of you, for all playing your roles and behaving in such moderate ways when I've been sometimes behaving a little unkindly or a little wildly or a little excitedly or a little mirthfully. Yeah, we all have our laughs, but Jimmy G, you got me there. You got me there, boy. You got me there. You made me laugh. So thank you all, and not to forget Stephen Flavel in Australia. Never met him yet, but there's an opportunity awaiting you to come here sometime if you can ever get up here from Australia. Um, because without you, I would never have moved my agenda forward so quickly. That goes for Matthew, that goes for Michael, that goes for everyone else, but Stephen especially. He had faith in me and talked about it with me directly, and for that I thank him. And I love him dearly as a brother, like he claims to be my brother, and I claim to be his brother, and that's it. We respect each other. Um, fairly and squarely as we should do, man to man, in platonic love. So that's great. Thank you, and all my other male friends and female acquaintances. You know, we get on well, and all the people I haven't met yet, because every person I meet I get on with, and I think everybody knows that. So we're all like that in Gloucestershire. This is a friendly county. This is a good place, and the whole area of the Cotswolds is just, it's the beginning of something new. And this is what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the fact that the Silicon Valley, the microchip era, is over. Okay, it's finished. It's dead in the water. The last ditch effort by the World Health Organization is to get people to scaremonger that Bill Gates is going to come along and introduce vaccines with passport chips or identity 2020 chips that will register people with the microchip. It's all been done already. The microchipping's happened, in the between 2000 and 2015 or 16. That's done. That's forgotten about. It's not going to happen again. Not only that, but if any of you look at any of my websites, especially this one, especially Spacetm, you'll see about my torsion field and my site realities, and how not only is it the realm of Able City and the whole structure of the reality, but we're going to set up a future dimensional organizational direction with the reality of component-free computers that will run on torsion field and light and particle technology that shall enable components to be structured through the universal cosmos that creates and embellishes the whole reality of Able City, Ina, and the whole location where I am, the Nibiru zones, if you like. So that's great. That's the future. And this realm of Gloucestershire is the second Silicon Valley. It's the move forwards from just being a zone to create money and wealth for computers and technology. It's moved forward from that to being a realm where lots of like-minded, I know who you all are, I know where you all live, all these technological people that come, they're involved with California or involved with other parts of the world through technological interests, come here to Gloucestershire and the surrounding area to embed themselves in somewhere that is just getting started. It's the reality, it's the future reality. the microchip free reality. And it embeds itself within the think tank realities, the whole nature of the think tank, the way that's starting to structure itself in our civil, social, organized lives, how feeders happen from the think tank, how seniority is happening, how people are developing ideas, and it's the ideas that are being farmed. We're not the Bank of England in the City of London, the think tankers. The think tankers are the people who come up with ideas that can be farmed around the world to bring back grassroots into the realm of the cosmic realms of Eno and Gladstone, Ramsby and Able City, and we can then develop that into the reality we want it to be, which is, the universal reality of all-dimensional creation through the processing of grassroots to the microcosm through to the macrocosm of the pleromatic module to heal, change reality, and embed creation of a universal scale within an existing global infrastructure. And this is going to happen across the planet from our nerve centre here in Gloucestershire. So the more the merrier. As they come out of the woodwork, all these IT people I'm meeting nowadays when I go to the pub and have a social life in one of the potential forums from the think tank. We develop ideas, we talk about things. People encourage me to keep going when I thought I was never going to get there. And these people, thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for dreaming the dream, for dreaming the inner dream with me, and for taking it seriously. And the government, the Conservative government, yes, thank you. Thank you. We needed your leadership in this time of the coronavirus, despite what anyone says. And if it hadn't been for the coronavirus, you would have been far more involved in what we here in the Cotswolds are doing. So thank you to the Conservative government for having faith. Siobhan Bailey, another thank you. Great woman, very intuitive into what the community needs, massive potential in what she dreams of for the locals here in Stroud Valleys, and all the other Conservative candidates who won in seats across the Cotswolds, across Gloucestershire, in fact the whole zone, because this is our county. We have rightfully earned what we wanted, which is Brexit, because Brexit had to happen. We had to have the Conservatives. And the reality is this, they believe in this reality. Not only did Nigel Farage and all the Brexiteers and the Brexit Party and everything else, that was a multipolar reality in the UK, and I still believe in that. I still believe we need that as a central core of the whole universal programme. But the reality is, the Conservatives just look at me and they look and they hope that things get put in place. They're not doubtful. They don't scorn people trying to get on and move on. They look for people to reach the higher levels and move on, not just sit around worrying about where the next bit of money is coming from. If you have faith in what you're doing and you work for the government and you do the right thing, you play by the rules, they will always provide. I've been on the breadline, but I've been provided for, and it's right. And I'm not thanking them, per se, for any help they give me financially, but this is what I'm saying. You don't. When we introduce the universal credit law and the life book and the whole action that comes from the reality of the life book and the way contribution is weighed up through universal credits and everybody gets their fair share, everybody can survive in the situation we're living in. No one has to back away from applying for a job and that sort of thing, because we will all be taken on our merit and on our potential to improve systems and lives for other people. The whole national health system, thank you. Everybody knows they're doing a fantastic job. We know that, but I'm talking about all the other ones. All the people the people on benefits like myself, the people who can't make it in the professional world because they've got too much going on in their own reality. Maybe they've got an impassable reality that is too big to put in place or to put into words. Some of them are at the stage where they're just thinking it and they can't talk about it. These people need help getting on and moving up like all of us. And these are going to be the wealth creators of the whole country and the whole world. This is what I'm saying. These people in the think tank who've come through the system. Maybe I've seniorized. I've been through various heroics. I've got to the level where I pretty much developed my system and put it into one company divided into by umosrus.uk and Spacetm.uk, which is one company under umosrus. But this whole reality doesn't make me any money. Be under no illusion I'm making money for this. Until I put everything into the Cotswolds and got the reality of Able City and everything I've dreamt up in umosrus, I am not going to make money from this project unless a deal comes from other parts of the world as things start to develop with the proxy server and the reality of the APN setup, and we can start to develop temporary ARC connections to maybe Europe and the surrounding area of the UK itself and Ireland, so that we can connect up these temporary ARC connections and go firm with certain packs around the European areas. To begin with, think centrifugal around our location in the Cotswolds and Gloucestershire, and then ultimately branch out and go further afield to places like Australia, to places like Canada, to places like America, to places like India, to places like China, and all over the world. But that's the third level. If you like, the second level is just being put into place now as we reach the reality of these torsion fields in our local community here, where we have packs everywhere, we have permanent ARC connections everywhere. As we develop into creating temporary ARC connections for the whole realm of interest from this zone of ENA, then we can start to bring the reality to these locations and start to develop permanent ARC connections eventually, which will eventually form safe havens, which can be turned into platforms themselves for seniors, either from this location or from the HQ at that particular location where the pack density gets stronger and we start to channel more pleroma and universal currents through torsion fields, sockets, tunnels, and the reality of this light web through the spring of abundancy of universal reality all over the earth. So the cyclical realms, or the psychical realms, which will come from the embodiment of the all, which the Cotswolds is. The all is the source, the reality where my source came from, and where the source of most people comes from here. We develop that and turn it into the Commonwealth, which can be divided up between those who have been key players in the location here, and also the ambassadors who will be sent out to the wider world, or come from that wider world to do business with us, because there's been a pact, and they can share it between themselves and work out how that's going to operate at a later date, maybe the second level, when it all becomes embellished and put in place. This is where we should be watching now. The world should be watching the Cotswolds and Gloucestershire now, all over the world. People should be thinking, what's going on there? Because this is going to be the next change. Like China is so far advanced in terms of what engineering, in technological ways and other ways can achieve. We're doing the equivalent, I suppose, in a way, of what China's doing in earthly terms. And we're generating a second wave so that we can then, at the third tier, reach out to places like China, America, and other areas of the world, and bring about, and the South as well, bring about the reality of, the Confederated States of Universal Reform in America, which will bring about like a state per practice, primarily the way INA works, for 52 practices in the mountains, or like 52 states, what the 52nd state being the walls one Trump. Ultimately, the 11th realm of all universal reality on Earth to begin with will be the walls around the tundra, which start in the Montana region of America. So you have wall at the top and wall at the bottom, and the walls one Trump, as we're going to call them, will be designed by Yumosras. I'm hoping to get that in time during Trump's second term, because that's the next phase, to bring about the ushering in of people who should come into America, and also privileging the people that can't come in through cheap but cyber engineered programming to do with technology, to do with different foods, all that sort of thing. That'll be, the way the walls will work will be like a Yumosras practice, and I'm hoping to bring that as the first state of Mexico. It'll actually be a Mexican-owned state. It'll belong to Mexico, but it'll privilege the Mexicans, but just act as a barrier to let the right people in for the North Americans. Whereas in the South Americans, they will be able to use it as a universal outpost to configure networks and zones in the Southern America for INA to start to build practice. Because the Confederated States of Universal Reform, each state represents a practice in the realm, in the mountains of INA, or the next level up, or whatever happens in the second realm or third realm. But in the Southern America, each practice that comes to South America from INA will be people who will be starting to look out and get packs connected with the Cotswolds. And these people, by the way, are going to be first to the queue, maybe even ahead of Europe, in terms of getting into setting up platforms in zones in South America. Primarily, the reason why this is going to happen, although we're working centrifugally out of INA, remotely, we're going to have to access, firstly, by bringing people in. No, it's not what I'd like, it's not up to me. The reality is that we're going to have to get South America configured properly, because that's somewhere in the world that needs to be protected as a sanctuary. And the whole purpose of having the Cotswolds like this is a sanctuary, and show people how it's going to work all over the world. Like a showpiece for Yumosras and the whole program I set up, wherever that becomes, or wherever that becomes overseas in South America or wherever else, they'll be able to work on the same basis of the Yumosras practice. Now, also, what we're going to have is, so although we'll be feeding in from South America to bring in people to start doing business with us in the Cotswolds, we're also going to have to feed out to China and use them as our target sales location for these universal commodities, because the China space program is a big program. It's moving forwards very quickly. They're going to be out there on Mars with a man on Mars way before NASA is. Maybe have already gone beyond, not gone beyond, but they're moving forwards quick. And they're going to be, the market's going to be open to them. First come, first served. As we develop these programs and we have prototypes and networks, software, computers, technology, interface technologies that people don't have on Earth, because as the universal realities start to come through us, we start to develop them and engineer them for the rest of the world. So China will be first to the queue to receive these technologies, so that they can then liaise with the reality in the rest of the world. The rest of the world, if we use China as a model of testing it out on, then the rest of the world can get contact through some of the technologies we use, maybe parts of Russia, maybe other parts of the world. For those who have problems with human rights issues of China, we understand. I understand these are sensitive areas, things to worry about. Um, but you know, human rights is in the eye of the beholder, and one person's view of bad human rights to certain people is another person's view of good practices because of the wrong practices being put in place by these people. And the way the media says things and makes us think things about China, certainly China and Russia, not really worrying about North Korea, who experiment on human beings while they're still alive. Still the sort of things that Nazi would have done. You know, China and Russia are the enemies because, you know, they're worried about the competition. They've been put up to it by the sort of libtard elite who are trying to take down the reality of progressive Earth, moving towards a multipolar reality where everyone can share the benefits of the Earth and the universal creation together. No, what we're getting from these libtard elites is regression. When we're in power, we get regression from them. We're not the ones regressing or causing regression. It's just these people want to stand in our way and stop us moving forward. We're progressive. We're the progressive ones, and we always have been. Because when the progressive, in inverted commas, governments get in power, all they do is put people like us at the helm so that the whole thing moves forward in terms of business and commerce. But when we start to move forward with progressive ideas from within the government or within the local communities or the local boundaries within the Cotswolds and all the locations, then all we get is these liberals saying that it can't happen because basically they can't cope. They're not clever enough to make it work when it's their turn to be the sort of lifeblood of the system. All they're good at doing is revolting, having revolution and complaining. Well, it's got to bloody stop. You know, we've got to move forward. It's our turn now. This is the multipolar world order. We're moving forward to a better reality, not this fake, child-sacrificing, lying, filthy, immoral, paedophile view of the world. We're moving towards a multipolar, protect life, look after the vulnerable, and forgive reality. But it's with a progressive undertone that's moving everything forward, not backward. And for that, we get called regressive governments. I mean, I don't understand it. But anyway, rant over. This wasn't meant for a rant. All I'm saying is we've got to get started right from the beginning of the universal reality. And that is our turn to do it. We are the universal reality. The last governments, they progressed us into the mire as far as I'm concerned. And all the stuff that's wrong in the world now is because of that era of regressive, or inverted commas, progressive government. So let's change it. Let's change it for good. And let's keep it multipolar and a future reality shared by all. So that's enough of the rant. I hope people enjoy my vision of umosrus.uk and spacetm.uk. Don't take it personally if you live in the local community and you have agendas with these left-wing governments, because I know the way you guys think. I know why you do it. You're there for a reason. But some of these liberals in America make themselves look whiter than white. We know what they've got on their mind. Climate change is a problem. Therefore, you know, we can start controlling people through it and making sure that people do as we want to, and start wars and regime change because people, you know, they just want an excuse to kick off. That's the motivating factor behind the liberal elite. I don't have any problem with people who worry about climate change. If we can do anything to stop it, then great. But my views on that are in another video, which is you'll see just up here. So thanks for your time, and it'll be good to catch up with some of those people I've thanked already. I'll see them in the forum program, no doubt soon, out and about with Michael Marnie and others in the next couple of months. But I wish you all well. Don't take anything I've said here personally if you live in this local community. I know how you all think, you know. We're all the same. We're all slightly ironic the way we behave. But not all the time, but most of the time. And it's not confusing because we all understand each other and we all have mad to blame for that. So that's great. Thanks, guys. Keep watching the videos and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Subscribe, please, and click the bell to get updates on when my videos come through. Thumbs up to the video if you liked it, and stay in touch, people in this local community. This is a good network, and the more we're in touch, the better. And bring in people from far away, you know, South America, China, Russia, America, wherever, all over the world, Australia, you know, come and join in our movement towards the future. God bless you all.